Alright guys, so it begins. Training day. This is the very first toss of the year, and man, I have not been looking forward to it. Well, I'm lying. I have been looking forward to it, but I guess I've been dreading it as much as I've been looking forward to it. Oh, I don't, necessarily enjoy waking up super early, 5 o'clock in the morning, basket the birds in the dark, take them down the road, rush off to work. So I've been sort of dreading it, to be honest with you, but it's the name of the game. You got to train them. You got to do your part. Because if you're not doing it, somebody else is, and that's the guy that's going to beat you week after week. So you just got to get it done. If you want to be part of the sport and you want to be competitive, you got to get it done. We're back at our original station. I start slow as I do every year. Back at the school, give the birds an actual chance. My birds have not been ranging very much. I think I've gotten maybe 10-15 minutes out of them at best. So I know they're not going very far, and because they're not going very far, I start slow. I know a lot of guys love to talk about how they start at this many miles or this much distance or whatever the case is. And that's fine and dandy, and I'm sure that works for a lot of you guys. But you really have to look at your own loft and your loft location before you make that decision and whether or not the birds are ranging. In my location, because of the trees, the birds don't spend a lot of time in the air. They don't range as much as I'd like them to or as far as I'd like them to. So for me to start at 5 miles, I'm guessing I would have probably heavy losses. Excuse me. And if I don't have heavy losses, I'd expect the birds to come home hours and hours late, and that just beats them up, and I can't necessarily take them down the road the next day. So I'll start slow. I'll start at the mile station and gauge how they do. If it's under 20 minutes, then I'm okay to move forward. I'll jump to 3 or maybe even 5 miles. But I just want to gauge it on the very first toss on how they do. Technically, they should beat you home, but that's never been the case for me on the very first toss. They're still learning. This is the second time in the baskets. So they're still learning. They're still kind of, I'm giving them as much time here. I've been here about 15 minutes now. I'll give them another 5 minutes or so, and then I'll let them up. Just to give them enough time to kind of orient before I let them go. And you guys notice I do have 5 baskets. We are still at a high number of birds. We have 73 pigeons. We started with 77, and I've had to call 2. So I've dropped 3 birds. Is that right? 77, we got 73 now. I dropped 2 birds? That doesn't make sense. I dropped probably about 3 birds. But nonetheless, I have 73 right now. They're all mine because I wrote them all down. I didn't want to make any mistakes in case I got somebody else's lost youngster or something. Because I'm not that keen. If it's a blue bar, it's going to blend in. It's the same color bands. I'm not even going to pay attention until I actually pick up the bird and look at it. But in this case, they are all mine. We have 73. We started with 77, and I know for a fact I removed 2 birds myself. Or I removed 1 bird. That's what makes sense. So I called 1 bird, and we lost 3. So, man, that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot to keeping the numbers down for me. This time last year, I probably had 90 birds on my very first training toss, but I started with close to 130. And you guys remember how many problems I've had with respiratory and eye colds and things of that nature. So this year has been a walk in the park, so to speak. I've not had any of those issues. Very few birds got light on me. 1 did not bounce back, so that's why I had to remove them. And for the most part, if they did go light a day or 2, they bounce right back. I have been favoring those 4-in-1 pills. I think they're tremendous. I can medicate individual birds instead of risking hurting my entire team by medicating them all just because one bird looks down or has gotten light. So I definitely would recommend the 4-in-1 pills. I wish I had them with me now, but obviously I'm not home to show you guys what I use. But I love those pills a lot, honestly, because again, I don't have to medicate my entire team. I just medicate individual birds, and most of them with 1 pill they bounce right back. The appetite's right there, and they're within a couple of days they're right back to flying with the rest of them. But we won't make this too long, guys. I'll let them up here in the next few minutes. I'm not gonna film the release because there's no point. You guys have already seen tons of releases. But I will take you guys back to the house, and we'll wait for the birds patiently, or maybe even impatiently. We'll see how long it takes. Again, we're just gauging the first toss, see how they do. If it's under 20 minutes, I am going to bump them up. If it's over 20 minutes, I may bring them back or just move this location just maybe further west or further south or something of that nature. But we'll see you back at the house. Well, guys, we are back. No birds as expected. Again, the first one is usually pretty hard for me, or for them, I should say. But we're patient. I got the timer going. I want to see exactly how long it takes them to go. I did look back after loading up the baskets, and I found 2 birds were trying to land in a tree somewhere, and for the majority were already up and grouped very well. So I'm expecting 2 birds either to be late or 2 birds to be dropped, which is sort of normal, I guess I should say, because I've been noticing 2 birds not wanting to necessarily fly with the rest. I'll let them up and they'll go in that tree and they'll sit there the whole time while the rest fly, and I don't favor any of them. So in this case, they're gonna have to learn the hard way, or they just won't come home. And as cruel as that sounds, it's just the name of the game, right? You can't baby them along. I can't force them to fly. Their health is where it should be, so there's no reason for them to not want to fly. It's just something in their heads that's not working, I guess I should say. So either they'll be home late today, or I'm expecting at least 2 birds to not show up, and I'm okay with that, to be honest with you guys. The sooner you lose the bad ones, the further along you can go with your own team. So I do need to open up that trap because I have not opened it up yet. And I know I dropped my voice a little bit, but my little one's sleeping and her bedroom window is facing the yard, so I don't want to be too loud. Alright, let's open up that trap. I walked in the yard yelling, and I'm like, wait a minute, if I wake her up, Mama's not going to be happy. And if Mama's not happy, nobody's happy. So we'll give it just another minute here. See if anything pops up while we're on video. And we'll call it a day, and I'll film it when the birds come in, and I'll give you guys a head count, or a time count, I should say, of when they show up. Alright guys, 7 minutes, guys. It took them 7 minutes and 14 seconds to make it home. And they're home and they're happy and they're flying as if they haven't really been doing anything, which they haven't. A mile's nothing. That's encouraging for me. That means I can go further. I will jump them to about 3 miles on the next toss. It may not be tomorrow morning, but starting next week I will start to jump them out a little bit further, and we'll go from there. But 7 minutes flat, guys, I can't argue with that. That's probably been the best time I've had in a few years, to be honest with you. Again, last year I think it was half hour if I look back at my videos. Maybe the year before was 20 minutes or so. We got all the birds written down. Well, I stayed out here all morning long for about an hour, but they did well, and they did well and better than I expected. So I think we're making progress, guys. We'll see you on the next one.